Want to know what winters in Colorado are really like? Keep listening.
I'm Ryan, a born and raised Colorado native.
I'm Carrie, a Texas transplant and a Colorado newcomer, and we're a married couple living along the Front Range in Colorado.
Join us as we share accessible adventures to help you explore the hashtag Colorado life like a local.
For anyone who doesn't live in Colorado full-time, there are definitely a few misconceptions about the winters here. For example, it's always cold, there's always tons of snow on the ground, you can go skiing any time of year. I mean, seriously, we've heard it all.
You can just ski out your back door. That's what everybody thinks.
Yeah. We have learned the first signs of winter can usually start as early as September, but typically cooler temps and snowy days start to appear more in October.
Snow usually begins to fall in late October and will continue until April or sometimes even into the later months. Actually, as a kid, I had a friend whose birthday was on June 10th and it snowed at her birthday party when I was in 3rd grade. Temperatures get cold a lot quicker and the transition from fall to winter is fast. And by the time November rolls around, it is likely to have already snowed a handful of times. And the speed of which fall seamlessly turns into winter is the same with winter when it turns into spring. In fact, Colorado doesn't really even feel like it has much of a spring at all. To us, it feels like it is slightly less intense winter, and that's basically what our spring is.
Yeah, that's one thing that I learned when moving here is that Colorado definitely has seasons, but fall is super short and spring is super short. And sometimes spring won't even come around till May or June. And I'm used to planting flowers or plants or, getting a garden going in early spring in Texas, and you cannot do that here because you will totally lose your crop. So basically, Colorado is a longer summer and a longer winter with short spring and fall in between.
Yeah, I would say I'd agree with that 100%.
So let's talk about what to expect in Colorado in the winter by each month.
November in Colorado is when the temperatures really begin to fall and you start to sense that, winter is coming. Warm days are mixed with cooler nights, and usually the days will be above freezing and pleasantly warm during the daytime, while the nights are just a little bit below freezing on average. Cold fronts moving through are pretty common in November, and due to daylight savings, the days become shorter and the sun sets behind the mountains much earlier. And it's actually pretty common to be eating dinner when it's completely dark outside.
December marks the true start of winter and typically when ski season is fully underway. The days are definitely more dreary and cold as the number of daylight hours and warm sunlight dwindles. During December, the sun's heat output is lessened and only emits about 60 to 70% of its normal heat.
It has to do with the position of the Earth's axis, which makes it so the sun's energy is deflected as, we kind of wobble and it's tilted away. So we are angled differently and the sun glances off of our location, essentially. Without a blanket of snow, Colorado's scenery in December is actually pretty dusty, and it mostly consists of just bare trees that are brown and a barren landscape. Everything's crunchy and dry because those super snowy wintry months haven't come up yet. So it's not that picturesque landscape that we're used to. But then again, there are those mountain towns where they will get blasted with snow in early October and it won't go away until May, and you'll have that picturesque landscape pretty much for half the year.
January is pretty much the coldest month of the year in Colorado, and snowfall is usually pretty heavy. The days are short with sporadic sunlight and unbearably cold nights. It's a really dry month and very little humidity. And snow will typically fall much more in January, and you can even see several snow days in a row. Mountain towns like Aspen and Crested Butte can see as much as 26 to 38 inches of snow on average in January. So it's definitely the highest snowfall month, or could be, and the coldest month too.
And there's definitely that difference in snow that I think that a lot of people don't realize. There's that really dense, heavy snow that you can just grab a handful and make into the best snowball ever. It's kind of super slushy. And then there's that really light, fluffy snow that you can basically just sweep your driveway rather than having to shovel it. And that's kind of the stuff that we get in January, is the really light, fluffy stuff.
Because it's so dry.
Yeah. Moving on to February. Now, February in Colorado means a very chilly month. Humidity, again, is very low. Nights are still very bitterly cold, and it rarely gets above 45 degrees during the day. The mountains continue to get pummeled with snow and ice as more layers continue to accumulate. Sunny days in February are rare, but snowstorms are occasional and usually not too bad. February is one of the best months for winter activities in Colorado that we have found. Since the snow accumulation is thick, this month is perfect time for sleigh riding, skiing, snowshoeing, snow tubing, ice skating, and pretty much any other winter activity you could possibly want to do. Also, it's a really good time to hit the slopes because you're still in that ski season, but it's like kind of on the end. People are in school, it's not the holidays. So February is like a primo time to do it if you can.
Yeah, one of the things that we really love doing is going to the mountains and skiing or ice skating or whatever for Valentine's Day. It really is the perfect time. The resorts are not nearly as busy, but it still feels like a mountain town, like a ski season.
Yeah, it's a really great, almost like secret time to go visit all those mountain resorts. Because it's still winter, but it's not super busy. It's great.
And finally, the last sort of winter month we do want to touch on is March. And I know it sounds crazy to say that we're still talking about winter in March, but while most other states in the country are gearing up for spring around this time, Colorado temperatures are still pretty cold. In fact, one of the worst snowstorms that Colorado has ever seen occurred on March 17th, 2003. And this was in Denver mostly. Heavy snowfall fell for 3 days and totaled more than 30 inches in Denver, with some surrounding areas seeing as much as 82 inches. Some residents made makeshift snow tunnels to get around the neighborhoods or used cross-country skis to get to stores for supplies, and it was said that the snowstorm was considered Colorado's worst blizzard in over 90 years at the time.
I would say that my two biggest snow, like wintry storms that I saw were in May of 1997 and then 5 months later in October of 1997. And those are both the months that we did not mention are snowy months. But the one in May was probably, it was just a really heavy, huge accumulation of snow. And I remember because my grandparents were here from Minnesota and they thought that this was no problem. And it was really funny. They were like going out and driving it, no worries. Everyone else was white knuckling it. And then the other one in October was such an enormous storm that blizzard, and they didn't even predict it, that people were like stuck at work for like a week sort of thing. They had to like hunker down and eat stuff out of the vending machine. And like that's it. So it was a really major storm, and I remember it started snowing on Friday, and I didn't go back to school until the next Friday. That is how much snow there was. Just like with any state, there's going to be some wild things that Mother Nature is going to throw at you. So how bad are winters in Colorado? Well, really, it depends on where you live in Colorado. Winters can actually be rather mild. Yes, of course, Colorado does get a lot of snow every winter, especially in the mountain towns. We aren't even in the top 10 of the coldest states in America, so that kind of says something to it. The average snowfall ranges from around 60 inches to 100 inches annually, and the average temperatures in Colorado in winter are anywhere between 16 degrees and 54 degrees, so it's a pretty, wide range of what it can be. I mean, it's actually not uncommon to be going or to go skiing in, March, and you'll see that guy who's, super into snowboarding go down without a shirt on.
In late spring and early summer, the state definitely experiences things like wildfires, heavy winds, and hailstorms. And during autumn, you may even see Colorado trees or plants changing color with snow already starting to fall, which is actually really pretty. I mean, if you've seen pictures of it, like in any of the mountain towns, Crested Butte or Telluride, you'll see photos of really beautiful Colorado trees changing color with white snow on them. It's really pretty, but it does kind of it's a bummer that it bleeds into fall and spring so much. And as mentioned, in late spring, you will see flowers and trees starting to bloom and then just totally get wiped out by a late snowstorm. Overall, though, winters in Colorado are not that bad, and there are minimal super snowy days. Otherwise, you can expect normal weather with snow, cold temperatures, beautiful winter scenery, and nothing too extreme. If you're not accustomed to living in the snow, it doesn't take too long to acclimate to the winters here. So let's talk about what a typical winter in Colorado is really like.
A common misconception, and this is kind of what I was talking about with your brother texting me, is that people will think that there's just piles of snow on the ground. That
all the time.
Yeah, that will be there in November and won't go away until March. And that is super duper not the case, especially with cities along the Front Range. While there can be cases of cities in the depths of winter, like mountain towns like Winter Park or Breckenridge, where that is the case, where the snow appears and doesn't go away until then, which is what you want because it's a mountain town. But along the Front Range, like I said, very uncommon. Colorado actually is a semi-arid climate, and overall the state gets a lot of sunny days. And just having a sunny day is just going to come out, and even if it's 28 degrees and sunny, that is definitely going to melt the snow a good amount.
In fact, Colorado gets more than 250 sunny days per year, which a lot of people don't realize. I mean, I didn't realize when I moved here that it was so sunny.
Yeah, it is intensely sunny.
So basically what happens is it will snow for a day or two, and then the snow will melt a day or two later. Just about as quickly as it appears, it'll be gone. And this is especially true for cities like Colorado Springs, Denver, and Boulder. The summers are mild and the winters are cold, but nothing too extreme. It's not like living in Alaska or something. Colorado has plenty of sunny days mixed in with cloudy, snowy days that make the winters bearable. Of course, winter in Colorado is not like the winters that I was used to growing up in Texas, but the snowy lifestyle definitely has an appeal, and I've come to love it. If you enjoy winter sports and colder outdoor activities, you will definitely like the Colorado winter season. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button to show your support. And to get new videos from us every week, be sure to hit that subscribe button.